Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wyoming Knits YouTube channel. My name is Jenny Lee, and this is my channel where I like to talk about all the things that I've been knitting on over the past week. Today is Sunday, March 30th, 2025, and this is episode 84. Today I'm coming to you from Southwest Wyoming, where I live with my husband, our daughter, and our little Yorkie, Dax. You can also find me on Instagram as Jenny Lee Knits, and you can find me on Ravelry as Jenny Lee S Knits. So it has been one whole week since I sat down to talk to you. I've got a couple things finished, but I also feel like I didn't do a lot of knitting. So we'll talk about that as we go, and let's start talking about all of the things that I've worked on this week, starting with finished objects. So the first thing I have that I finished that I want to share with you is my Monday sweater by Petite Knit. It's got this nice fold over collar, and then you start with a collar, you knit down, you knit the top together with the bottom as you knit your first row. Then you go into your raglan increases, there we go, and knit all the way down to the hem. I did a tubular bind off on the hem. This is knit with a strand of fingering weight and a strand of lace weight. I used Cascade Heritage, and this color is the color 5657, and I do believe that is the hunter green color, and this is Knit Picks Aloft in the Labyrinth color. And I held these together except for when I did all of the bind offs. I dropped the mohair and just did the bind off, the tubular bind off, with just the fingering weight. And I don't think you can really tell that I didn't hold the mohair to do the bind off. When I knit my California sweater, Leslie suggested to drop the fluff and just do the fingering weight to do your bind offs, and that worked out really well. So I tried it on this one also, and I love it. I have a really long cuff. I think this is like at least 4 inches of cuff. I absolutely love the fit. It falls. Here, I'll move this back just a little bit more. My natural waist is right here. My belly button is right here, and then my pants. So I really like where this falls on me. I like the amount of ease in the armpit. I like the drape and the color. So I really do love this sweater, and I think I might want to make another one in the future. I might do just a DK weight, or I might do a fingering weight held with Surrey instead of mohair, excuse me. Just a little frog. Let me grab a drink. I have all my cute little yarn stickers on this one. So I love this one. I put it on today. I blocked it. I think I finished it all I had left last week was the rest of the decreases, 2 more decreases, and then the cuff. And I finished that Sunday night and finished weaving in my ends Monday after school, and I blocked it Monday night. And then this is the first chance I've put it on because I didn't want to wear it before the video today. I do really, really love the fit. It's nice and warm. It is actually 43 degrees outside right now, so it's not too warm. It's a little overcast, and this is going to be a cozy sweater to wear the rest of the day. Let's see. I can tell you when I started and finished it. I started the Monday sweater on February 15th and finished it March 24th. And then the next thing I finished were my Scrappy Socks. I think I was somewhere in here last time, maybe even on the green, but I finished out each stripe. I just started the sequence over again and then finished with the toe. So it comes in, this is a row 1 mini set. It came with 10 10-gram minis. So I did 1 mini for the cuff for both of them, 1 mini for the heel for both of them, 1 mini for the toe for both of them, and then striped the other 7 until I got to the heel, and then did that same 7 again. So I think I figured out why these were not bringing me so much joy. I do love the colors together. I'm not a huge fan of striped socks or self-striping yarn. I think my problem with these socks was you had to drop the yarn and pick up your new yarn, and where the 2 yarns join, let's see, is it on this side? It might be on this side. Yes. Where the 2 yarns join, the second round, the third round, it's just kind of loose. And I just really don't like that while I'm working on it. I think that's why I don't gravitate to scrappy things that I drop the yarn and pick up the new yarn. I like things that go straight in a row for a long time. So I started these, let's see, I started these November 13th and I finished them March 30th. So let's put that in here. I didn't. So I just use Google Keep, and I just put all my whips and then a check off box, and then I check them off as I finish them. I try to put the starting date and then the day I finished them. So I have finished 6 items so far this month. I finished my Christmas socks, a hat, my Monday sweater, my row 1 Scrappy Socks, a baby blanket, and the storm sweater. So I finished 6 things this month. On my yarn tracker, I think I only have 5 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I forgot to add my Scrappy Socks. So I finished 6 things this month. So let's talk about works in progress. The first thing I have is in a Mountain State Stitches bag. I have all the bag makers that I show or bags that I have linked in the description box below, where you can go to their website or their Etsy store and search for bags. Some bag makers have small updates that they do, so you have to keep an eye out, and they're only available for a short period of time, and then the storefront doesn't have anything in it and you have to check back. But in this bag I am using some Felici yarn I got in fall of 2022. I wrote on there so I would know when I got these ones, because Felici usually did, they had 2 releases, one in the fall and one in the spring, and they had different colors, and I don't know if they've ever repeated a same color. They have the same colors in socks, but not in the same order, or the color is slightly different. So I put the date on there of when I purchased those, before I realized or came to the conclusion that I wasn't the biggest fan of self-striping socks. If they have a pattern, it's not as bad, I feel, because then it just breaks up and it's not like a solid color change. I don't know. So I started these last week. I had shared that I made it to the blue. I had done 1 color repeat. I cast on 64 stitches with a German twisted cast on. I did 20 rounds of a 2x2 rib for the cuff, and then I started in on the Stack of Books pattern by Lindsay of Sock Witchery, and I did 70 rounds of the pattern, and then I put in a different stitch marker to indicate where I put the heel. I put in a stitch marker every 10 rounds of the leg, and so when I do the next one I know how many rounds to do, and I'll move the stitch marker over. I started the heel last night before bed, and I do put in a stitch marker on the first slipped stitch so I can easily count how many slip stitches I have. I do 16 slip stitches, so that's 30, is that 38 rows? 32 rows? Yeah, 32 rows. And so I'm just in the middle of the slip stitches, and I do all of it on 9-inch circular needles until I get to the toe decreases, and then I switch to a magic loop needle or sometimes flexi flips. So these socks are going to be for my mom for Mother's Day. I kind of like this pattern for self-striping yarn. So that was the first work in progress. Then the next 2 are the same thing. Last week I showed this Musselburgh hat, that I'm making for my husband or one of his friends. And I said I wasn't quite happy with the loose gauge on this. I had him try it. I put this like this and I folded it so it was double, and I told him, feel it, check it out, see what you think, because I'm not sure if this is what you want. And he messed with it, he played with it, he stretched it, he put it on, he tried to put it on his head kind of without pulling it off the needles. He compared it to his favorite hat, which I made with a Zen Yarn Garden yarn, which was a 75 or an 8515. Do I have some right here? Yeah, and it's a little bit plumper. Like, I don't know if you can tell the difference between those two strands. Kind of. This one's just a little bit thicker. And so I chose a 75-25 yard to see if he would like that better. And he did say, yeah, that might be a little loose. So I put this one on hold and I ordered a new, these ones I'm knitting on a size 2. I want to say this is a 2. Yes, 2, and it is a 2.75 millimeter. And so I ordered some more needles. I ordered two 32-inch size 1.5, and I ordered one more 1.5 16-inch. And I started the other one. So this one's the off-white color. I want to say this one is snow and the other one is white. They're both the Musselburgh by Ysolda Teague. I am almost finished with the increases on this one. I stopped because I counted the stitches in between my stitch markers and I am off by 1 stitch in one of the sections. And I was like, oh, this is a gift. I don't want to mess it up. I do like the fabric that this is making, but I am a tighter knitter on Magic Loop. When I switch to 16, my gauge changes slightly. I think I'm still getting the same amount of stitches per inch, but it feels looser. Yeah, I do like how close together these ones are. So we are going to go with 1.5, US 1.5. I think it's a 2, what does this say? 2.5 millimeter. So 1.5, 2.5 millimeter. And I will make all 3 hats in this size. I have a white one, an off-white one. Yep, you can tell that this one's the white and this one's the off-white. White one, an off-white one, and a black one. They're so creative in their colors. So I'm working on these. These will be my, I need something I don't have to think about knit. And I'll be able to take these anywhere I go and hopefully have them finished before the end of the school year. So both of these, this is my Stitch Quest bag from Kate's Random Ness, and this is a tea cake make bag. Then I worked on, because I finished this sweater, I was like, I have my birch pullover and my sea glass, and those are ones that I have to look at the entire time. I have to look at the sea glass to make sure that I'm doing the right color when I need to, and I have to look at the birch pullover to make sure I'm knitting in the row below when I do the knit stitches, and then I don't have to look on the purl row, but I find myself looking a lot on the purl row just to make sure that I haven't messed up any of it, because there's been a couple of times where I've looked and 2 or 3 rows down I forgot to knit in the row below, and you can still see the purl bump. So I'm super proud of myself. I've had to ladder down, fix the mistake, and go back up. And I was able to do that without messing up the pattern. So I was super proud of myself. So I decided to come in here, and I have some Wonderfluff right there. And I put some in this bag. This is a Sassy Socks. It was the one holding my Monday sweater. And this is the color Cobblestone Heather. And I am part of the Twin Stitches Designs membership. I decided to sign up for that this year. And in the membership, you get a free pattern every month. And we did a knit along, except for I didn't cast on when everyone else was casting on. But now I'm finally ready to cast on. So I cast on the bingo sweater. I'm not sure if this is available in Ravelry right now. Let me check. I don't think it is available in Ravelry. I'm not seeing it. No, this is not available in Ravelry yet. So it's the bingo sweater by Julianne of Twin Stitches Designs, and I am just working on the yoke. I think it's going to be nice. I do have one other sweater in the Wonderfluff. That was my totally tubular turtleneck, and I have worn that a few times. I wore it to school a couple times this winter when it was kind of cold. I'm using my Chow bamboo needles because I think my sea glass sweater is right over here. My sea glass sweater has my other size 10 needles, and I thought I had a 4-inch and a 5-inch. And I don't know where my 4-inch ones are. So I have some bamboo ones that I decided to use. And I am using my twice shared sheep. This one has a little sweater. Let's see. Being knitted on the bottom for the charm, and it'll tell you do the increase row and then do this many rows of plain knit stitches, and then the next row is an increase row. So this is counting how many rows I have to do before my next increase stitches. So this will be a perfect on the chair while I'm watching TV at night with my husband before bed, when I just need some straight stockinette knitting. This will be for at the house. The hats will be for on the go, and I will be able to get this finished because it's worked up on a size 10 needle. It should go pretty fast. So I'm working on that one. And then the last thing I worked on this yesterday for a couple hours. I worked on my Cozy Memories blanket. When I started this, I searched Ravelry, and the pattern I found was a paid for pattern, and at that time I was like, I don't really want to pay for this pattern. I see lots of people knitting it. It's just a mitered square, and I found a blog post that said how to make a mitered squared blanket. So that is the pattern that is linked in the description box below. This was my little marker denoting the first square I did in 2025. This is from my mom's socks I made her for Christmas. And then I had shown these other two last time, so I moved my stitch marker right here, and then I put in my 3 Christmas socks. This was my unique sock set, my Hobie socks, and my West Yorkshire spinners that I just finished last week. So I have in my little box over there, I have 3 more balls of yarn, fingering weight yarn, that I can put into here. So I just did 3. I think it takes me between 25 and 35 minutes to do a square, depending on what is happening. And then I put this stitch marker in the last 2 stitches. I do the one where you put the stitch marker in the middle. I do 20 by 20 and put the stitch marker in the middle and do sometimes I do knit 2 together for both of them. Sometimes I do knit 2 together, slip the stitch marker, slip, knit. Sometimes I slip, knit, move the stitch marker, slip, knit again. And I cannot tell which squares I did what decrease. So sometimes if I forget what I'm doing, I just knit 2 together. So, and I've woven in most of my ends. I took yesterday morning and I wove in all of the second row, well, in between the last row and the next row. I did all of the, because I usually keep these until I get 4 squares, and then I weave in the ends. So the only ends are the ends on the top. And so these ones still are not completely finished. There's 3 squares here, so I'll wait and do the 4th square and then weave these ones in. So I love this blanket. When I set it on my lap to work on the squares, it's just nice and warm and I love it. I want to make it big enough to fit on my bed, and so it is nowhere near that length yet. So this will be a long-term whip. Last time when I did this first square, I weighed the yarn, did the square, weighed the yarn again, and it took me about 3.5 grams to do this square. So I've been marking that in my yarn tracker for the year. Every time I do a square, I mark 3.5 grams out, and put that under blanket square. So because I know this won't be finished this year, but I do want to track how much yarn I am using this year. So each square I am counting as one finished object, kind of. I'm counting it as one finished square and taking out that amount of yarn in my yarn tracker. So that was everything I worked on this week. It was our first full week back after spring break. We had a full 5-day week because we're on a modified schedule. Some weeks we have 4-day weeks, some weeks we have 5-day weeks, and we usually only have to do 2 5-day weeks a month. And so we had 10 days off, back to school for 5 days, and it felt like a very long time. There was a couple of days I got home and I sat and closed my eyes and just sat there in the silence. And that was really nice. I didn't knit, I didn't turn on YouTube, I didn't turn on the TV. I did scroll my phone a little bit and play some silly games on my phone, but I didn't do a bunch of knitting on those days. I think there was like 2 days after school that I was just completely exhausted. It's getting warmer. We had a cooler day and then a nice warm day, and then we had a nice warm day with lots of wind. And then we had a cooler day with lots of wind, and the kids are ready for spring. They're ready for nice weather. Do I have to wear my coat? Yes, you have to wear your coat. It is still 30 degrees outside. It is still 45 degrees outside. You have to take your coat to recess with you. I give them the choice whether or not they want to keep it on the whole recess, because they are running around and their bodies are getting warm. But I make them take their jacket just in case they do get cold. They don't have to go back in without being supervised to grab their jacket and come back outside. So I just make sure that we all take our coats. If it's warm enough, we can put them by the door, and then it's available and nobody has to go back in the building unsupervised. So I have some plans for next week. I need to start my blanket with my Premier yarn. I need to start a pair of socks for one of my coworkers. She's the only one I haven't made socks for yet. She just came this year, and so I want to make her a pair of socks. We have another lady that's leaving at the end of the year. I do want to make her something. I just don't know what yet. We have 2 months left though, so I got to get done. Got to get those on the needles, and I got to get those done. And then I have some yarn in this little see-through box that I got. I want to cake this up and do the Frankie V sweater with these. I have 5 skeins of DK yarn from You Knit I Dye. I bought this, like, I swear I bought this 4, maybe 5 years ago, and I haven't used it yet because I'm like, I gotta find the perfect sweater. I gotta find the perfect sweater. No, you don't have to find the perfect sweater. You just have to knit something. But I think I'm going to do the Frankie V sweater. I saw Pearls and Polish do one. The Frankie V sweater has a bunch of stripes, and I think she did the test knit, and she knit hers all in one color, and I really liked that. Then I have this yarn that I want to turn into socks for one of my friends. I'm thinking this one for my mother-in-law for Mother's Day. This one for a family friend. Those will both be socks. And then this is the color that I want to do for my most recent coworker. So I want to start those. I want to start all the things because I finished some sweaters, but I also want to finish some of the things that I've had on the needles for a while. I've been looking at my stash stats for this year. I have my spreadsheet where I'm putting in every time I buy yarn. I put in how much yarn I got. Anytime I get some in the mail, I put that in. And so I started March with 76,229.5 grams. That is roughly 762 skeins of yarn. If we're talking 100 gram skeins. Some of them are not 100 gram skeins. Some of them are 50, some of them are 200, some of them are 150, but I weighed them all and I have 76,229.5 grams in my stash on March 1st. I brought in 1,640 grams of yarn into my stash in March. But I finished 6 things and 3 blanket squares for 1,167 grams out, which puts me at a positive 473 grams for March, ending March with 76,647 grams in my stash right now. I started the year with 74,000, so I'm up about 2,000 grams, so that's about 20 skeins of yarn. I am getting the July My Little Pony Advent. She is doing a Pegasus pony this time. I did get it on Stellina so I can finish my Jelly Roll blanket. I think this year I am just going to work through the Jelly Roll blanket. I may or may not open them on the day you're supposed to open them. So if I have that color in my blanket already, I will not show the blanket that day. But I will show my Jelly Roll blanket when I'm completely finished using 2 years of Yarn Cafe Creations My Little Pony July Advent. So those are 31-day countdowns. So there will be 62 different colors in that Jelly Roll blanket. I am holding the fingering weight double to get a DK Jelly Roll blanket. So I will show that in July when I start working on it again. I have not decided what I'm going to do for Advents this year. I am going to do a swap, an Advent swap. That's the first time that I will do an Advent swap, so I'm kind of excited about that. I've got some different ideas. I've got my little bags ready to start putting the minis in. So I'm excited for that. I don't know. I'm sure I will buy an Advent or two this year. I'm debating on the Twice Sheared Sheep Advent. Again, I really enjoyed all of the things that I got, and I have used most of what I've got last year. So I'm debating on whether or not to get another one of those. And then what kind of Advent I want. I think for Advents, I just like doing them in scrappy blankets. I think that's where I'm at. I don't know if I like sweaters with Advents yet. Every time I think about all of the ends and changing yarn and the sleeves matching the body, I get a little freaked out and nervous because I like to just sit down, pick up my knitting, and just work through until I get to the end, and then add in my next color and work through till I get to the end. So we'll see how that goes. We have one more day until I will be drawing winners out of the FO threads on Ravelry for my Scrappy Make-Along for 2025. This is a year-long knit-along. Head on over to Ravelry to see all the rules and post your scrappy finished objects in the finished objects thread. Leave any questions or introduce yourself in the chatter thread. And I think that's about it for today. Until next time, happy knitting!